girl. Like, let's get on that. You know, I'm getting excited. Welcome back to the channel. It's ya girl, Kelsey, rom-com author, comedian, podcaster, vlogger, YouTuber, bestie, oversharer on the internet. I said that part backwards. Oversharer, bestie on the internet. And I'm back with another writing Q&A, writing tips video for you guys. I have appreciated so much all of the comments on the writing tips, writing strategy videos. I've had a lot of questions about some marketing tactics. So this week we're going to talk about marketing, and then next week will be my last writing tip for 2025, and we'll talk more about craft and writing. But I did want to thank Good Karma with Karma Marie. Her comment, she said, "Wowza, I just finished leaving a review after binging Happy Christmas. You are inspiring and intimidating. Cue Garth and Wayne bowing. We're not worthy. We're not worthy." I mean, that's like the best comment ever. Did we just become best friends? Thank you so much. I am so glad that she enjoyed my latest release, Happy Christmas. Again, every video since I've been doing these writing tips, I'm like, if you want to stalk me and see if I can actually write, if I know what I'm talking about, go read Happy Christmas. That's my latest release. And as for my launch, results, tactics, pros and cons, I've been talking about that in my vlog, in my writing vlog, which comes out once a week. So check that out for the actual like marketing and launch stuff for Happy Christmas. But thank you so much for that comment. Let me get to what we're going to dive into today. Okay, so I put together a list of just like a ton of stuff, and I'm just going to read them real fast because these are the kinds of questions I get. Like, what about, you know, cover reveal posts and countdowns, and then commissioning character art? What about mood boards? Or what about like showing scenes behind the scenes of you writing? What about making book playlists on Spotify? Should we be posting, you know, teaser episodes? Should we do meet the characters type of content? Do reader quizzes? Should we do like, what kind of book should you read? You know, like a lot of people, it's kind of trendy now of like, I mean, especially like skincare and some of these big things. It's like, you know, you take a quiz and then they get your email address and they email you the results. So some people have started doing that with books, like which book of mine would you want to read? Should we be doing Instagram reels? Should we be doing TikTok skits that are funny about bookish things, bookish humor? You know, should we be pulling early reviews and posting those? Should we post funny bookish memes? Like a lot of social media questions, which I've talked about before. You know, but like things like Kickstarters or big giveaways, like pre-order giveaways or signed book giveaways or multi-author giveaways or anthologies, talking about like your author story and why you wrote the book, showing dedications, doing countdowns, doing casting, like, you know, ideal movie cast of my book characters, going on podcast interviews or trying to get guest posts on other people's blogs, doing Write With Me videos. Obviously things that I say yes to do would be like NetGalley, Book Sirens, that's on this list. You know, releasing bonus scenes or deleted scenes, trying to get partnerships at local library, trying to do some sort of partnership with local media, like your local news station, probably if you're in a big enough market, has like a Good Morning Tulsa type thing, you know. Should you do like a limited time pricing? I've talked about that. You know, different types of ads. Should you try to collab with other authors on Instagram or TikTok? Should you do TikTok shop? Should you do a Barnes & Noble book signing at your local Barnes & Noble or local indie bookstore where you go set up a table and it's not like a ticketed event or a reading or a Q&A or anything. You just show up and have your books and like stand there in the afternoon. Kickstarter is a question I got. And then what about like, should I do a Patreon, like to have more content or special editions or things like that? Should I start a Substack where I, you know, blog more about the writing process? Should I start an Etsy shop that has like prints and bookmarks and things about my world? Like maybe you're a big fantasy author and you want to have lots of merch and all those kinds of things, and that's what you want to put in your Etsy shop. Should I do limited run like merch drops of like pins or bookmarks? Should I try to do like a VIP launch team where they get special book mail? Should I try to do brand partnerships with like vibrators if you're a romance author, or some sort of tech if you're a sci-fi author. Should I do trade shows? Should I do book fairs? Should I do romance book cons or sci-fi book cons or comic cons? And then like a bunch more like specialty things. Book plates, which is when you like have a sticker with your autograph and then you send just that because they got the book on Amazon and you want to send them like a book plate. What about selling extra book lover merchandise? What about talking about like our meet the couple in real life romance of me and my husband? You're an author who writes something in like the crime world and you yourself were a cop. Should you do a series about that? Sometimes an author will actually host like a launch party at their town or their house, even I've seen. Things like that. Just so many questions about basically what I would call specialty items, especially if you're talking about Kickstarter, Patreon, special editions, physical copies where you're doing giveaways and swag and extras and pre-orders. Hear me when I say all of that is for people who already have a lot of readers. And when I say a lot of readers, I mean thousands of readers. Because the cost for you to figure out and get it set up, and let's say you do a Kickstarter and you're like, well, if I do a Kickstarter, they pitch in, so it covers my cost. Who's pitching in, bro? Bestie, who's pitching into your Kickstarter if you don't have any readers? We cannot look at the big boys and try and do what the big boys are doing. Because there will be indie authors who are huge that will do a Kickstarter for their special editions or their sprayed edges or a bonus, something, special edition something. They are asking thousands of readers for that stuff. All of those things you put on the back burner, buying a bunch of physical copies of your books for giveaways and like just to look nice on your shelves. No, man. No. And I know that goes back to, well, how do I find readers? Well, I already did a video on that, on finding readers specifically online, ARC readers, beta readers. But I did want to say that if you go out into the world with the mentality, and I mean the physical world, like the real world, with the mentality that nobody knows about your books, there are some ways you could do some of this stuff and gain new readers. For example, local bookstore signing. Only your mom's coming, right? We're being brutally honest here. This is how I roll. Right? We want to be actual full-time fiction authors. We want to be actual creative business owners, full-time entrepreneurs. We're not doing stuff because it looks cool, and I'm not sugarcoating how things work. If you go to Barnes & Noble, your local one down the street, and you ask them and say, hey, can I do a book signing here? Set up a table. They might say yes. Or indie bookstores, a big indie bookstore or a small store near you. Even a coffee shop, one of these type places, okay? A coffee shop that has some books, or, a dessert bar or a bar, or some place that has, it's like next to a bookstore, or they have poetry reading nights or something on their calendar. So you think, well, this might be a good fit. Great, fine. But you're going to go there. You're going to stand there. Your mom's going to come by. Your brother-in-law's best friend who reads sci-fi is going to come by. And then everyone else who comes by might be like, oh, what she got going here, right? Which, my friend, is when you got to have your 15-second pitch. I just watched a video the other day about writing books, and this person, a lot of subscribers, a lot of video content about writing and marketing books, and they tried to summarize their own book in a sentence, and I was lost. You got to have a 15-second, 30-second pitch. Like if someone said, what's Happy Christmas about? I would say, well, two friends of a friend who have always been on the outskirts of everybody else's big, fabulous life run into each other. She's secretly deeply in debt, and he's a billionaire who's about to get kicked out of the family. So they have a marriage of convenience, and they go back to her small town to prove to the world that their love is real, because her town is Juniper Falls and it's holiday themed. So that's a perfect place for them to convince the world and the paparazzi that they're actually in love. And then, of course, they actually fall in love. It's opposites attract. It's reverse grumpy sunshine. Like, I realized that was much longer than 15 seconds. But did I stutter? Like, did I struggle through explaining the premise? Like, you understand everything about, like, what makes it interesting, what makes it funny. I mean, it's a holiday themed town and she's secretly in debt and he is about to get kicked out of his family. There's paparazzi involved. Like, a reverse grumpy sunshine tells you about their personalities. She's grumpy. He's a golden retriever. Like, I said all of that. I need to make it shorter because that was longer than 15 seconds. But you see what I'm saying? Like, I am ready to go. I am locked and loaded about Happy Christmas. I didn't say, well, it's kind of a rom-com, but it's kind of women's fiction, or, well, it's kind of a thriller, but it's more of a fantasy. Well, it's kind of action adventure, but it's also a mystery. So, if you're going out into the world, into the great blue yonder, to talk about your book, be ready to talk about your book, okay? Also, you're going to a book fair at your local library, they set up tables, or your like a craft fair. Like this year there was a huge holiday market and I kind of forgot it existed because I don't go shop at those, but thousands and thousands and thousands of women do go shop at this big holiday market in Oklahoma City. I should have had a table for Happy Christmas there. And next year I will. And so, but when I go do that, I'm coming out there with the assumption that none of these women are my people. None of them are coming up to see me. None of them are coming to, check me out and find my table and look at my books. They are there to find great gifts. They are there to shop. They're there to browse. So let's say you decide to do, hey, I want to do a special book launch party at a coffee shop. Great. Do it. Now, your book launch party means your family and friends are going to come. Is that the vibe? Is that the vibe? Or maybe you're in an author's writers group and all the writers come and maybe some of their, friends of friends and readers come. Great. I like that vibe more. I mean, some people have very supportive family, but a lot of family be like, oh, look at your little book you wrote. No. I'm saying no a lot. I'm in mom mode, I guess. You need to protect yourself and your work and your belief in your work. So that's why I'm like, maybe don't invite all of your family and friends to your book launch or your first signing or whatever, because you only want people who are supportive and excited there. You don't need your aunt with her snarky side comments about your little hobby. Not invited. She is not invited. So you do this book launch at this coffee shop, okay? Guess who's coming in to a coffee shop? People who want coffee. People who are looking for coffee. Now they might see you, and if you picked a good coffee shop that kind of has like a local vibe where they're championing, like they have local artists on the walls and they have local music come every Thursday and Friday. This is a coffee shop that is known for championing local creatives. Then the people who come in might be in that camp and they might see like, hey, what have you got going? Oh my gosh, you wrote this? You're the author? You wrote this entire book? And then they might buy it. Or they might at least follow you on Instagram or go, get the Kindle on Amazon while they're standing there. But that's got to be your expectation, guys. That's got to be the way you see it. So no, we're not doing Kickstarters. If you want to spend hours doing like a cutesy, like meet the characters, very well done Instagram carousel post, do it. And expect that 2 people will see it and only one of them will care. I'm exaggerating, but truly, even if you have 100 followers who see it, they might care about it. If they really care about your characters, are very invested in character art, but that's a lot of time and energy to make a little meme that doesn't sell you any books. And you're like, well, what if I make a reel that goes viral? Yeah. If you make a reel or a TikTok video that goes viral, but it needs to sell your book. It needs to be about the book, getting people hooked, with an emotional hook, which I've already talked about in past videos. So another thing that's like super duper popular right now is, sprayed edges, glossy prints, special foil, like it's gold foil on the front, having multiple covers for different things. Maybe you have a Kindle cover and then you have a paperback cover and then you have a hard copy cover and then you have a special edition cover for people who pre-order. All of that stuff is for people with thousands and thousands and thousands of readers. If you have 100 readers, they don't want to buy 4 different covers. In fact, even people with big audiences sometimes get in trouble for that because it's like super, it kind of can feel like a money grab. Whereas some people who are collectors of special editions love it. But we've gotten so crazy with the special editions, it's also kind of flared up to like bite people in the butt because people are like, why are you making so many different editions with, you know, extra chapters and all that stuff? It feels like you're just trying to make more money. And I want us to be full-time authors. I want you to make bank from your books. And you can. I've done it. It is very possible to make bank from your books. But you got to start with the assumption that nobody knows you and nobody knows about your book. And frankly, most of them don't care. I already talked about finding people online. But another idea, okay, so going back to the trade show idea, I talked about the coffee shop. Next idea. You're doing a fair, okay, a book fair. If I'm going to a book fair, which I am, I'll tell you guys about it closer to. It's not January, February. January, I'm going to be in Cedar Rapids. February, I'm going to be in Houston. So if you'd like to see me in person, check out kelseyhumphreys.com/tickets, events. Go to my website. So if you want to come, you know, chat in person, I would love to see you. Please come to one of those events. But I'm not talking about a book signing like that. I'm going to an actual fair that is not for books. It is a fair to buy gifts. It's like a gift thing. When I go and set up my table, which they don't provide a table and they don't provide a stool, FYI, some of these things you got to bring your own. They don't provide a tablecloth. You have to pay extra if you want a power strip. So like you have to think about your tablescape. You have to plan like what does your display look like? How are you going to grab people's attention? Next to me is probably going to be somebody who's doing permanent jewelry. So, you know, people walk up and they get a bracelet like put on and they're selling earrings and necklaces is next to me on one side. The side to my other side is going to be candles. Homemade like goods with like honey. I don't know. But you see what I'm saying? The vibe is people are coming in to shop specialty, handmade, interesting goods. So why would they want my books? What am I even doing there? Well, I'm going to tell you. This is for women who want to shop. And guess what? Somebody on their shopping list loves books. So I'm going to have my books set up looking great, looking like a freaking Target display, like beautiful display. And I'm going to have some big thing that like I am a local author, Oklahoma author. And since it's in Oklahoma, my actual series, the family in the Heartlander series is from Oklahoma. So I'm going to say these books are funny, hilarious, swoony, steamy, and the family is from Oklahoma. There's a bunch of Oklahoma references. The book lover in your life will love this. Whoever you're here shopping for today, they will love this if they love books. And I'm going to have little like tropes about each book. So like, oh, well, she only ever reads like, you know, kind of thriller, mafia. Well, guess what? One of these, she falls in love with her bodyguard. That would totally fit somebody who's used to reading like darker things because it's more action adventure. He's much more like broody, you know, it's a little bit darker. You know, give it a try with this one. I am going to go in there with the expectation that these people do not know me. They do not want my books. I'm going to have to convince them. I'm going to have to sell. So why do it? Well, A, this is going to be a test. I'm going to vlog about it. So if you watch my vlogs where I kind of talk through like the actual numbers, return on investment, how things went, I'm going to talk to you guys about it in the vlog. But I know that when you meet an author face to face, it is like, you know, to them, to someone who is either a reader or like not even in the world at all, it's very like, wow, this is cool. Like you're kind of like a big deal. You wrote a book. For me, I'm going to have a whole table. I wrote tons of books. Like just looking at it, you know, it looks kind of impressive to someone who's never, you know, maybe they've never even thought of writing a book. And it's like, you wrote all these and they all have someone like from Oklahoma in them. Like, you see what I'm saying? Find the angle. Why I'm doing it. One, I want to meet Oklahoma readers and sort of get, you know, build my fan base one at a time. I have also heard that you sell really well because at these gift markets, people come in wanting to buy. They are there, money in their pocket. They are there to shop. They're not browsing, you know, they're not scrolling by on Instagram. They are there to spend money on something cool and different. And my books are cool and different. Like, let's go. But you hear the mentality. I'm not going in there thinking like, oh, I'm going to have a bunch of readers come find me. You know, I'm going to have my fans show up. No, No fans are coming. I mean, they might. If I have some fans in Tulsa, they might come out just to say hi and get something signed. But for the most part, these people came in because they wanted the candles. They're interested in the handmade jewelry, right? So that is the mentality. Another one that I'm doing this year is a con, a romance book con, which is short for conference, like Comic-Con. There are sci-fi cons, so many fantasy cons. So the one that I'm doing is not specifically for fantasy, but I can see based on the authors and the vibe that it's a lot darker than me. So those books that are going to be there, most of them are a lot darker, like mafia, thriller, morally black, action adventure, that type of thing. Stalker romance, a lot of white shoes. You know, I'm like looking through the authors and looking at the books that they have up, and it's, you know, just like a lot of like gothic black stuff. So when I go in to that romance book con, I'm going to say, I'm going to have something displayed, and I'm going to say like, let me be your palate cleanser. That's a real thing. Like people who read a lot of dark romance take breaks and they read palate cleansers in between that kind of get them out of like same old, same old, same old. This can be true for fantasy, and this can like high fantasy, you know, big, huge fantasy sagas. And it can also be true for someone who reads a lot of dark romance where they're like, you know what? I just need a break from this for a while. I need a palate cleanser. Pick me. Pick me. Again, I am not expecting myself to have readers and fans come to this. I am expecting someone to walk by. Now, the difference at a book con is that these people are expecting to buy books. They come in with money. They want to have their favorite books signed. And I'm not going to be one of those authors that has a line or anything. I'm not big enough yet. The mentality is they're there to spend money. They're there to get books. They're there to meet authors. They want to take selfies. They want to get stuff signed. But most of them don't know me. Most of them haven't heard of me. Most of them are, you know, there for some other author or some other person that they, you know, want to check out their books, or their favorite author, they want to get them signed. So when they walk by me, I'm going to be primed and ready to talk about my books and try and get them interested, try and explain like why I might be a good fit for their TBR, or their best friend who doesn't read dark romance and only reads fluffy rom-coms, buy books for them. That is another place where you could get new readers. You could meet people in person. You know, someone who meets you in person is probably going to be a fan, maybe for life, or at least for a long time. They're at least going to be like, you know, tell their mom like, Mom, I bought you this book because I know you love to read fiction, and she's local and I met her. She signed it. Her mom loves it. Her mom's over the moon because her mom loves books. You see what I'm saying? Now, let's talk a little bit about partnerships and anthologies. I've talked about this somewhat online because, yes, if you can partner up with a bigger author for a giveaway or an anthology or something like that, that can definitely get you, like if you can ever partner with somebody who's got a bigger audience than you, a bigger platform, more books, that's great because you're going to get yourself in front of their readers. But why would they pick you? Why would a huge author choose to partner with you? You see what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be mean. I'm trying to get you in the position of, I need to be able to sell my books with a sentence, with a Zoom call. Like, let's get on that. You know, I'm getting excited. Do you know how rare it is for someone to be like, let's hop on a Zoom call? We're all a bunch of introverts. We don't want to get on a Zoom call. We want to do everything via text message. We don't want a phone call. We don't want to Zoom. We don't want to live stream, right? So if you say, hey, I would like to partner with you on this, and I'm happy to hop on a phone call that'll be fast and we can just, you know, go through it all, or I'm happy to get on a Zoom. Another thing that can help if you want to partner with someone bigger than you is that you do all the work. Let's say you have a collection of thriller short stories. Maybe you have one really great thriller short story for like Halloween, okay? I mean, you know, sometimes my examples are weak sauce when I'm not doing romance examples, but let's say you wrote a short story that is really scary for Halloween. You want to do a Halloween anthology with other authors. Well, you better be willing to do all of the work. You reach out to these bigger thriller authors or horror writers and you say, hey, I want to do a short story Halloween anthology. I'm going to get the book cover done. I'm going to write the blurb. I'm going to, do all the social media graphics. I will have a promotional copy written that you can copy and paste. I'm going to have a virtual assistant to help facilitate giveaways. And I'm going to do all of the work. And all you have to do is email me the Word document or PDF or EPUB or whatever format you want of your thriller, scary short story. Now that's a way to get new readers because you're partnering with somebody bigger and better than you, but somebody bigger and better with a similar audience. I hope that makes sense. And that same mentality applies to doing newsletters together or a big Instagram giveaway together. I signed up for a charitable giveaway this year and a Christmas giveaway this year, and all I have to do is ship a book. I mean, I shared the social media posts also, but they didn't even ask me. They were like, you don't have to share. It would be great if you did share, but we need you to contribute a book. Sure, I'll contribute a book. I have to do very little work to be involved, right? So it's a no-brainer for me. I said yes to both of them. Okay, so let's talk about some of the other things I mentioned when I did the list at the beginning. Like, for example, let's say you really want to be in your local library. Well, libraries, bless their little hearts, they've got less and less, like they're spending less and less time on shelf space and physical books. Everything is moving towards, their Libby. Is that how it works? Their ebooks. And then they're bringing in things like experiences and board games and tables and puzzles and like things to get people to like keep families engaged and like a lot of stuff for kids. So how are you going to convince this librarian that it's worth it to bring in your local title? If no one's requested it, you're nowhere on their radar, right? So, and like, what if, I don't know, locally, if you're in the middle of the Bible Belt and you've written a horror wide choose romance, I think that's going to be a hard sell for your local librarian, right? So you have to think about, nobody cares about your book. Nobody knows you. Nobody wants you. Nobody wants what you've got unless you convince them. So that's why, the big dogs have a strategy for libraries, but we shouldn't. We should get to the point where people go locally to their library and request our books. Actual readers out in the wild. I also mentioned local press. So like getting on Good Morning Dallas or, getting a feature written up in your local town newsletter, or we still get like a little magazine that's mostly ads, but it's free. It just shows up for our neighborhood. Again, this is very competitive, this space. So why would they spend, you being from their town and releasing a book is not enough. That's not newsworthy enough. So you've got to find some angle. For example, maybe a seasonal angle. If your book takes place in the heat of the summer, that's a big one for romance, a summer romance. But if your book, it takes place in winter and you've got this snowstorm and, happening locally, or you get a lot of snow locally, if you reach out to the news people and are like, hey, if you want to do like a snowed in segment with me about like get your hot cocoa and your heated blanket from such and such local store, like plug all these local things, and then be like, people would love my snowstorm story that I wrote. I'm a local author and I'm just trying to drum up some publicity in the winter months. And I think it would be a great segment for your readers or your viewers, would love it. Your listeners would love it. You see what I'm saying? Like, none of it is about you. It's at that point, it's not even really about your story, is it? It's about the news channel's viewers. It's about the podcast that you want to be on's listeners. It's about the guest post that you want to post on that blog or website's subscribers. So you got to pitch it about them, about what they want, about what they would enjoy, that happens to fit this book that you wrote. Okay. One thing that I think, and I've had this idea, but again, don't be an idiot, Kelsey. Because I think that local bookstores and indie bookstores would probably sell more indie titles and local authors if they made a cool end cap. And I thought about designing this, hey, let's design an end cap that's all of these are local authors, and this one's a mystery, this one's a romance, this one is, in Norman on the OU campus or whatever. There's a reason end cap displays exist in Target and Walmart. There's a reason that giant like 99-cent sale or, 2-for-1 or whatever. And I feel like, man, it would be cool if they did this for local authors. And I've thought about pitching that. But you know what they would say? They would say, I'm sorry, but our end caps are for authors that anyone's ever actually heard of. Like weird, you and me, bestie, we're not gonna sell like hotcakes. And that's what end caps are for. Like the big, like Stephen King comes out with a new book, they're sticking it on the end cap. You see what I'm saying? The local indie author section is in the corner in the back. They're not playing it up. You know why? Because the people aren't buying. So if you want to do something in local bookstores, again, you better be prepared to do the effort. Like be like, hey, could you put a couple of my books on the counter? I made this entire display for you and I'm going to give you a better discount, retail, wholesale discount. Like stuff like that. And why would you do that? Because you want to get new readers. You're a nobody. We're nobodies. So at the beginning, we got to gather the readers, right? Gather up your readers. At the end of your book, you put a bonus scene, you get their email address, your email list grows and grows and grows, and eventually you're making enough, you're releasing every 90 days, you have an actual author income, okay? But the mentality at the beginning has to be, nobody knows me or likes me or wants what I got. Not yet. Same thing with, I mentioned brand deals. If you think, oh my gosh, it would be so great if I could partner with such and such, like local brand or national brand or whatever. No, why would they pick you? You don't have any followers. You don't have anyone. Like they want to, in my genre, they want to sell more vibrators. Honestly, this is a common partnership with bookstagrammers and book talkers and big, influencers in the space and even authors in the space, creators, bookish shops, all that stuff. If they're big, guess what? They get a partnership deal with these vibrators. Why? Because they can sell more product for that brand. So again, this is not something we're going to do as newbie authors. One of the things that I don't know if I mentioned this in my big long list, but kind of adjacent to like libraries and local bookstores is local book clubs, which I've mentioned in the past. Local book clubs are a great place to start, to maybe just reach out and say, hey, I'm a local author. I saw that you have a, cozy mystery book club and I just wrote a cozy mystery. Could I be your book club pick for November or December, whatever? But you're competing with the best cozy mysteries that are coming out because the book club readers want to read what they want to read. And what they want to read is the stuff that's on their TBR and the stuff that they've been anticipating coming out all year long. You better polish up your angle. Like I think they will love it because local angle, time of year, interesting tropes they don't see very often, or their favorite tropes that they ask for all the time, or if they love such and such cozy mystery book from last year that was like the Goodreads cozy mystery pick of the year, my book is very similar and they will love it also. I know that I kind of just like pooped all over your hopes and dreams in this video, and maybe you're like, well, I really wanted to do special editions, or I really wanted to do a Kickstarter. Listen, you have to get in a spreadsheet and run the numbers. If you have 2,000 hardcore reader fans, maybe you could support a Kickstarter. Maybe all 2,000 of them would pitch in $50 and cover the cost of whatever it is you're trying to do, a special edition illustrated copy or a fancy hardcover with foil or whatever. You've got to assume that not 100% of them will buy. Like look at who's actually opening your emails. Look at how many of them are clicking on your links that you send, because it's not 100%. So whatever that percentage is of 2,000, okay? Then how much are they really going to be willing to spend? Maybe 50, maybe 30. How much is it going to cost you to print, design, and ship 100 or 200 or 300 or 500 gold foil stamped special editions? Like you've got, and don't forget about shipping. It costs so much money to ship books. If you haven't done it yet, shipping physical books will kick you in the nuts, okay? So you've got to really make sure you've run your numbers in a spreadsheet and figured it out. Audiobooks, run the numbers. You're gonna hire narrators. It will cost thousands of dollars to do audiobooks. And I did them this year, and I'm not sure yet if it was a good choice or not. The great thing about audiobooks is that they are very long tail. So, I am now starting to see them grow, and more people are binge listening to my books on audio. So I'm starting to make that back. When I'm looking at the spreadsheets, doesn't look great. And I don't want that for you if you're just at the beginning. I am not at the beginning anymore. I have a whole backlist and I'm running ads now and I have other pen names. And so I've got things going, but I don't want you at the very beginning to be chunking all of your hard-earned very beginning, bits of money into Kickstarters and special editions and illustrations that you commission from an Instagram artist because they look so pretty, audio, whatever else. I just already said it. One more thing that I just wanted to go over is that a lot of the stuff that I've mentioned in this video look cool, but don't actually sell very much. For example, the local TV example. Now that looks cool and that is fun. And there are some things that just go do it for the fun of it, to just feel like an established author, tell your mom, I'm going to be on TV, right? That's not valueless, but it's really difficult to get a local TV viewer who's watching the morning show while they brush their teeth to stop what they're doing and go buy your book on Amazon. That's a big leap. Looks cool. Not selling any books. Getting a newspaper write-up or a local magazine cover. No one's reading real magazines anymore, but they are putting out that kind of content on Instagram. And let's say you get featured. Again, stopping their scroll on Instagram, lifting up their thumb like we've talked about in the past, actually tapping over. Then they've got to find your feature in that grid that their link goes to. Then go from there to maybe your website or your Amazon. It's too many steps. So it looks cool, and maybe you should do it for your brand, something to post on your website, fun stuff to have, sort of imagery, like some street cred or whatever. Not selling many books. A launch party where everything looks pretty and curated and is super fun. Especially if you're doing it at a bookstore, the bookstore is taking a cut, 30 to 40% of your book sales. So as a newbie author who maybe has, not very many people coming out to get it, looks cool and is fun. And I think, as a debut author, go ahead and throw a launch party. Go ahead and be like, this is the launch of my new business, my new career, with people who are supportive, people with the right vibes. But not going to generate sales, not going to put money in your pocket. Sending a bunch of ARCs, whether via email or even worse, physical, to bookfluencers, book talkers, booktubers. Most of them will post nothing. Even if they have their email address listed, if you don't have an existing relationship, they're not going to post about your book. I think a lot of my first 2 books are just in the trash somewhere, unfortunately, because I sent so many out. It was so much money. So don't do it. Don't make my mistakes. But it does look cool for the ones that post a book mail and opening and reveal, but it doesn't really lead to sales unless they actually read and review it. But very, very few of them do. If you're going to make bookmarks, tchotchkes, other little bookish type stuff, be prepared to give it away for free. Because unless it's super high quality and you paid a lot to create it, make it, order it, ship it, and then you charge full price, for it, you're not going to make your money back. And again, that's not really our focus, is it? At the beginning, our focus is to build a readership. So don't spend a ton of time on tchotchkes. All of these factors are not necessarily against us. They are factors against your visibility. They are factors of reality when you are new and starting out. Sarah J. Maas, Rebecca Yarros, Colleen Hoover, all of these people at one point had a first book come out that was just okay, it's your first book, congrats, cool. I actually don't know about Sarah J. Maas's first book, but I know she was 16 when she wrote it. So I can't imagine that she was instantly, huge. I mean, maybe J.K. Rowling, but was she huge after the very first book, or was she huge after the 3rd and the 4th book? Because I remember hearing about it. At the time, I was too old. I was those are kids' books. I'm not going to read them. But I think by the time I heard about it, multiple books had been released in the series, which is what I've been saying this entire time. This was really a very much tough love video, but I need you to get your mind right. Okay, I need you to get your mind right, to get the readers, to get enough momentum to quit your job or to pay off your debt or whatever you want to do with your full-time fiction author income. Business. Okay, not hobby. I hope that this helped you think about it. This is not to say we won't get to that point. I want to get to the point where like anywhere I go and any event I do, fans are showing up looking for me, looking for my books. I want that, but that's not happening yet. And I've been in the game a while and I have a lot of books out, but it's still like, this is the reality of an indie author. You got to publish regularly to stay in people's minds, and you got to just work at it for like, year after year, building the readership. If you enjoyed this, you can go to kelseyhumphreys.com/writing. I am considering different ways I could work more one-on-one with people. Maybe a community where we all join together, like a monthly community. Maybe just hop here, like live video where I just brainstorm with other writers who are stuck or needing help taking their one book and turning it into a series. So go to kelseyhumphreys.com/writing. I would love to know, what your thoughts are. And I also hope that you will like, subscribe, come back for the vlogs, come see me in person, and check out Happy Christmas. That's it for me this week. So I will be back next week with another writing tip video.